Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Moon, Business Development Manager of Parabilis, and welcome to our premiere, Parabilis Presents, Chronicles of a GovCon CEO. Parabilis is a company that provides just-in-time financing for government contractors, and we are proud and privileged to be sharing this program with you today with real-life experiences of government contractors so that we can highlight not only the success that can be gained in this industry, but shed some light on the challenges that CEOs face and pivotal moments that impacted their journey. I find that it's through sharing our experiences that we can gain greater insight into how we can successfully navigate opportunities in government contracting by learning from the success and the pitfalls of those who have already paved the way. So today, I'm proud to share with you my special guest, Barbara Stankowski. She is a veteran with 28 years experience in the U.S. Navy. She's a successful entrepreneur and an expert in what it takes to make it in the government contracting world. She's an overall extraordinary person, and I'd also like to thank my friend Judy Bratt for encouraging me to invite you to be on this program. Proud to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Teresa. I'm delighted to be here and look forward to our chat. You know, I have a lot of experience. You know, proud Penn State graduate who in 1970 had not a clue what to do with my life, except I knew I didn't want to get married or be a librarian or a teacher or a nurse. And my father said, "Why don't you join the Navy?" And I thought, I can do anything for 4 years, I think was the commitment. And I ended up staying 28 years. It was a great run. The Navy invested in me. I got a master's in computer science. So from a liberal arts psychology major to a master's in computer science was a huge jump, which then allowed me to work in the IT arena in the Navy and work in the integration of IT and training, which is what I did in my last few years in the Navy. Retired after Major Command. Went to work for some woman-owned small businesses, and then in 2007, I thought, I don't really like this business model. Why don't we start a company? Crazy idea. So at 58, I started a company because I wanted to create a great place for people to work. It was not focused so much on money, and I really didn't have any thoughts at that time of the end game. But as Stephen Covey often says, it's really good to keep the end in mind. And so to start with the end in mind. So I guess I wish I had done a better job thinking about the end point early on.
I think, that's important to note too. When I talk to prospective clients and people within the industry, I always lead with, you got to have a plan. You got to have benchmarks in that plan to help you get to that next step. And it has to include some, room for error. And, right. Failure isn't fatal, right? I mean, we have to be able to, and those are the best types of lessons, I think, in my own personal life and professional life, the hardest lessons are the ones that teach you the most. And so I think, your story and your commitment to sharing the fact that, you have to have a plan that includes the end is so important. We talk about it in the financing realm to know how to get from each level to the next. And with the ultimate goal being to sell or, merge or be acquired by another company, you've got to know what that looks like, even though it might not happen the exact way that you map it out. If you don't have any of that course charted, it's difficult. And we do it in so many other facets of our life. And sometimes professionally, we think that success is going to be as a result of being the best at what we do. And, government contracting is an evergreen opportunity environment, but it can gobble you up equally as fast as you get into it if you don't know, what you're doing and going after things properly. And that end of the process is particularly daunting sometimes for some people. When you and I chatted initially and you said starting with the end in mind, I thought that was a perfect an invaluable piece of advice for the small and growing contractors who, are still kind of getting their feet wet and getting grounded. I mean, you've had an extraordinary experience with your own professional, career outside of the military. If you wouldn't mind talking a little about when you and I chatted, you spoke about how, you did originally work for businesses. You broke out on your own at 58, and it wasn't smooth sailing just because you were great at what you do, right?
No. And I really, I think the problem is when you start off, you don't know what you don't know. And, I think what I love the most about the 12-year run in running my company was that it was constant learning. It was constantly solving problems. It was constantly figuring out how to do something that you hadn't done before, which I loved. A funny story, when we started, I had thought that we were just going to, have no offices, have a space that we go to occasionally, and we would just focus on providing what we call in the government butts and seats, right? Provide people to work in government spaces, staffing. Except the first contract we did required an office, required computers, required people. And so, you pivoted quick and you did it, right? All of a sudden you're running around finding an office space, finding an HR company who can help you hire the people because you were too young to have benefits and all that kind of thing. And so it was a very humble startup in a very sad looking office, but it was the beginning, but not what had been planned.
Right. And I think your initial team didn't, stick it through to the end either, right? I mean, you had a partner in the beginning that didn't end the process with you as well. I mean, that when we chatted about it, I saw that as a real, indicator of your perseverance, because that could have been a very challenging, to many, many people.
Right. I mean, I am grateful to the partner because I don't know that I would have jumped off to do this. But after about 4 years, he kind of felt that in which we had gotten certified as an 8A and an SDVOSB and woman owned. So I was 51% owner. He felt hemmed in by all the regulations and the rules. He didn't like it. He thought he could go do it better by himself. So we parted ways. And then this was my business development guy, my proposal writing guy. And all of a sudden I'm sitting in my office thinking, what do I do now? Well, first I sold everything I could in order to buy him out so that I became 100% owner. And then I needed a COO and somebody who had business development and proposal experience. Talk to other CEOs. And the one thing I would say is networking with other CEOs is really powerful and important. The CEOs I talked to had recommended somebody that I interviewed and hired her, and it was gold, absolute gold. And I am so grateful for those recommendations. And so I'd like to kid that we were woman owned and we were woman run, because my CFO and my COO were all women. And we just believed you could do it, and we did. So, when my partner left, we were at about 11, 12 people. We were at about, probably $1 million, $1.5 million. And I kept saying the 5-year mark is going to be the differentiator. If we can make it to 5 years, people will believe you're ready. They'll business will come. And so at the 5-year mark, we had grown to 16 people, but we had grown to 3 million a year. And then by the 6th year, we were at 23 people and we were at 3.5 million. So, and after that, we kind of doubled almost every year.
That's amazing.
So at the end of the 12 years, we had close to 300 people and 30 million. So it was a heck of a scale. You learn to scale and be agile and to move. And you get those calls from contracting officers who says, can you do this? And you say, of course we can do this.
Yeah.
You hang up and you say, wonder how we're going to do that.
Right. But it's amazing. I think, and to your point too, about the 5-year mark, I think that there's something to be said for that. We talk to a lot of businesses too, that always have that 5 years as their benchmark of whether or not they're going to make it through. I know SBA puts out a lot of, gauges about how long you got to be in the industry before you know that you've kind of got something that's going to stick. And so 5 years is always that benchmark, it seems. And to your point, it doesn't always follow that path just because you had it planned out that way. But you definitely saw the growth that most people would dream of beyond that, which is, once again, testimony to what perseverance does, because sticking in it and keep fighting it for another day, I think, is what the difference is between the businesses that make it and those that don't. And when you spoke of the different certifications that you had, those programs provide a lot of opportunity, but a lot of it has to do with who you know and relationships with contracting officers and things of that nature. It does provide a different type of opportunity as far as being able to get sole source and things like that can be very lucrative. But it's not always a benefit, right? I mean, with keeping to our topic of with the end in mind, you had to jump some pretty high hurdles in the process of being able to sell your business, which is usually the ultimate goal for most business owners, is having that opportunity to sell. So, can you talk to us a little bit about, why now, in hindsight being 2020, why you wish that planning would have included the end with the sale of it, and how your certifications provided unique challenges to that process as well?
Well, twofold. One, we were very lucky in our timing in building the infrastructure for the company. So, you can't be the CEO who does everything, who wants to exit your company, and then what's left? You've got to build the infrastructure. You've got to have the layers of management. You've got to have standard repeatable processes. You have to have quality. And you have to get these things in place. To me, woman-owned, service-able, veteran-owned 8A were merely tools. And they were tools that became useful, not in the beginning. Never did a contract drop out of the sky because I was an 8A. But what happened was it became an opportunity for contracting officers for whom we had done work for, who wanted to renew work, wanted to offer us some different work, but because they saw our performance, saw that we did a nice job, were interested, and those designations made their job easier. Right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So that they had an option to say, oh, okay, my acquisition strategies, I'm going to do an 8A sole source. Nice, right? But it was because they knew us. It's because we had a relationship. It's because we had past performance.
Right. So the certifications, and a lot of, offices of small businesses for those large primes that I've spoken to, their directors have talked about, don't lead with your certifications or with your NAICS codes, because at the end of the day, neither of those mean much if you don't have the past performance to show from credible contractors, work that you've done that has been, to kind of show your stake in the game and show your worth. Right. And relationships are everything. And so I think it's good for people to recognize that, and networking with other CEOs, I'm sure provides you with some of that insight too, because I'm sure you're not the only one that sees that as a benefit to helping with, progressing along in the industry. So in the end, you've had, some really phenomenal success, and the kind of the reward for that success is being able to step back away from it and sell your business and be able to go then and enjoy the next chapter. And, you talked a bit about with me the nuances that went into finding another fit when you sell, and you've got these certifications and these designations. You have to find someone that fits that mold. And, I didn't know that only because I didn't think about it. I'm not a contractor owner. And so I didn't even think about that being an issue. I just thought, hey, you get successful enough and someone's going to come around and, offer you a bunch of money for your company, and it's either yes or no. But that's not as easy as that. Right.
And we always were very careful to keep our eye on, how many of our contracts were just full and open, or not, are just small business set asides, as opposed to a woman-owned set aside, or a service-able veteran-owned set aside, or an 8A. The 8A complicates a sale because it requires that you either sell to a designated approved 8A or those contracts terminate at the date of sale. So if, all your contracts are 8A, if you don't sell to an 8A person, you have nothing to sell, theoretically.
Right.
Woman-owned, those contracts will continue to the end, but if they recompeted as a woman-owned, if you didn't sell it to someone who had that designation, then those contracts terminate and they can't continue. So it does complicate your thinking about how do I find somebody who wants to buy this company. Some of the things that we did that made our company of value was not only having a great staff. I mean, I hired from the very beginning a CFO who was phenomenal in government contracting, had been a DCA auditor, and she was great. Our financials were always in great shape. We always had great financials and able to, whether it was for bank loans or anything, we always had the information. It was always correct. We built infrastructure. We built an IT infrastructure. We had CMMI for services level 2 certification. We had ISO 9000 2015 certification. So not only did we say we had repeatable processes, we had certifications to prove that we had repeatable processes. And it was not just a certification. We lived and breathed that way. It was really important that every program we had was maintained with the same kind of information in the file, with the same spreadsheets, the same information. When we lost our COO to a brain cancer in 4 months, one day she was in the office and then she was gone.
Wow.
If we had not had that structure,
Mm-hmm.
It could have been really devastating because we were all still doing program management and doing a variety of things. But that simplified the process. You just assigned somebody new and all the information was in the folder. And everybody knew how it was maintained, knew how to find the last minutes, knew who all the points of contact were, knew who the last minutes were, last meeting minutes were. So that saved us. It also gave great value to the company. The people the gentlemen who wanted to buy my company were looking for a platform. They didn't want to spend 5 years building that platform. They wanted to buy an existing platform with backlog, with reputation. So all of those things came together and added great value to the company.
I can see that now from that perspective, being completely valuable when you're selling, to be able to have all of your capabilities and processes and positions tracked the way that you did. So it was just more turnkey. Someone else could step in and know. I think a lot of companies fail to recognize that being so important. Handbooks and guidebooks and things like that only go so far. But the fact that you went to the extent that you did to lay things out in each level of the company so that everything functions similarly in that respect is amazing. And I think that that's great information for business owners to hear, because there's a lot that not only that'll provide in case there's turnover to a certain extent in certain positions and things like that. But I think all too often people tend to lean into that set of, I'm the only one that can do this and no one else can do it. And that's so limiting when you make it, because you make it about yourself, because then you have no potential to move into something else and grow with it. You've got to, if you can put things in place so that anyone can step in and see what you've done and be able to follow in those footsteps, that's valuable. And I think people tend not to go there because they want to make themselves the only people that can do those particular
Well, and you have to, if you think about, you're going to sell the company and you want to walk out the door, you want to be able to walk out the door and have that company function without you there. And if you have not delegated the responsibility and taught and grown your staff to execute the strategic direction of the company and to take care of the client, then you've diminished the value of the company. I had learned in several of the CEO groups that I had been in that, the worst time was after you sold the company, and the people who were most miserable are the ones who had to stay on with different owners. That was very difficult. I had a 1-year consulting agreement with the firm, but after I had really introduced them to the client, to the customers, and we had made visits, they really weren't interested in my input or having me around, and that was okay, because it was their company now. It wasn't my vision. It wasn't what I wanted. It was what they were going to do with it for the next 10, 20 years.
Right. And I think that that is a testimony to the processes that you put in place to make that happen. So that's great, because I'm sure you were relieved with that, or it could have been a real, heartache after the fact that, things weren't running as smoothly for all the hard work you had put in for the 12 years prior to that. So that's amazing. I think, what we've talked about is, some great information for businesses that are in the industry, that are growing, and that, great advice, best takeaways that I'm hearing are, circulating and networking with other CEOs is huge. And, we of course have the theme of our chat today has been with starting with the end in mind. So that's always, a great insight as well. But if you could, tell your entrepreneur self back when you started a few, bits of tips and tricks that you've learned, what would you tell yourself back at the beginning of your journey with the information that you have now?
I think there are a few things. One of the things that my partner John and I did was we enjoyed the journey. We had fun. When I traveled on business, he went with me. We made everything kind of mini vacations. We had great joy in the 12 years could be really arduous, but we made it a good time. So you've got to enjoy the journey, have fun along the journey. A point in case, a year after I sold the company, John died. And so thank goodness that we didn't wait for this transition in order to do it. So enjoy the journey, the entire journey, not just wait to the end. Don't delay happiness by saying, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I win that big contract. I'll be happy when I sell the company. Be happy now. The other thing I would say is that we talk about the end in mind. The end in mind, that end is not when you sell the company. The question is, once you sell the company, then what? Mm-hmm. And you need to have a plan for what you're going to do next.
Yeah. I think
I'm still figuring out that journey.
Yeah. And, because, like you said, if you don't enjoy things along the way, it's hard to think about that after the fact, right? Because you're still going to be, the journey, the success in the journey is not the destination. It's celebrating the little victories along the way, I think. And I think, growing in experience and in age teaches us a lot. And I know that, you and I could chat all day long about, being just human beings in general. We all share, life experiences that we either choose to live and love and learn by, or be embittered and not know what to do with that type of information. But I think that it's a beautiful thing to hear that you were able to enjoy it along the way. And I think it's inspiring too, because you can find enjoyment and joy in your life even when you're working hard. Exactly. And I think that's great. And I'm so glad that you were able to share your experience with our listenership. I think a lot of growing government contractors and CEOs and all the industries that support government contracting, tend to not slow down enough to listen to some advice. And so, hearing from you that's already been there, I think it's going to be very impactful to a lot of people. So it was great having you. And I know now, you've moved on to be able to enjoy things in a different way. And you've got, some amazing ways that you spend your free time now, but you still don't have a lot of free time. I know that you're involved, for instance, here in my home state, you're involved in Grow Florida. Why don't you tell our listenership a little bit about Grow Florida and what initiatives they share?
Grow Florida is a nonprofit organization started off under the University of Central Florida, but their focus is second stage companies. Those are companies that have 10 to 12 employees, have $750 to $1 million in revenue. The ones that typically, if they're in an incubator, they've passed the requirements and they've been pushed out to go do other things. And many years ago, UCF identified that there was a gap in support for companies when they got there, because this is now when you're going to scale, when you need to figure out how to grow and how to scale the company. And so GrowFL, who was supported by the Edward Lowe Foundation in Michigan, Edward Lowe, the founder of Kitty Litter, left his fortune in support of a foundation that supports second stage companies. And so together they have created a network of support with the idea of CEOs teaching and learning from other CEOs. And it's very powerful. And they've evolved over the last few years to have chapters around the state and provide a number of programs, including mentoring programs, CEO roundtables, System for Integrated Growth, Leadership Institute, all kinds of opportunities to help second stage CEOs grow and continue to scale their business. So I'd highly recommend it for listeners who are in the great state of Florida to take advantage of it. I'm going to be back in Florida in mid-February to celebrate Companies to Watch, which is another Grow Florida where they recognize emerging great 50 companies who have done really well to scale and support the Florida economy.
That's awesome. And it's incredible that they have you as a part of their program to mentor and assist with these businesses as they really start to catapult themselves into whatever industry that they're held within. And so I think it's great for our listenership to know, because there are a lot of businesses that follow us on this program here in Florida. So if they're not already, aware of Grow Florida, they can definitely get information and get involved, especially if they're in that realm that suits that organization.
And
itself.
The executive board and the advisory board for Grow Florida are CEOs like myself that bring a lot of experience and are willing to share their time and their resources with CEOs who are looking for guidance and help. And so it's a great place to be. The chapters meet frequently across the state and then come together for things like leadership institutes. And this Florida Companies to Watch will be celebrated at the Hard Rock at Universal.
That'll be fun.
Yes. It's a great award ceremony to recognize and celebrate 50 companies each year that have really contributed and grown and really been impactful to the state of Florida.
Right. Hey, I love it. This is my home state, born and raised here. So I think it's wonderful. And congratulations to those 50 companies that have made it to that list. That's very impressive. And as we know, within any industry, inside or outside government contracting, being able to be recognized for the work that you do is important. And I think that that's a great thing. And I think it's awesome that you're involved in that organization. A lot of people will benefit from being mentored by yourself and other CEOs that can lend.
Well, and I tell you, I was an award winner in 2012, and that recognition, that applause, that celebration really was uplifting and really gave us hope and courage to march on forward. It was really a great event. And then we were able to take advantage of the resources that they provided to help the company grow.
Oh, that's amazing. So yeah, I highly recommend and encourage those that fit that status to be able to try to get involved as much as possible with that. That's amazing. Well, again, I sincerely thank you, Barbara, for being a part of this. Is the premiere of Chronicles of a GovCon CEO, and I am proud that you are my first guest with this. I think it's a wonderful start off, and I think this program is going to be very useful in the terms of information sharing for CEOs that are getting off and running, and that's the hope for what we're trying to do here. So I appreciate your time very much, and like I said from the beginning, we're looking to share with our viewers the experiences, good, bad, or otherwise, that other leaders have lived, the success that they've gained along the way because of it, and your story is going to be impactful and help for the better, the course for another business. And so we appreciate being able to connect our viewers to you through this program. And we want to encourage everyone to be sure to follow our podcast each month as we highlight other CEOs and share their stories of resilience and success. So once again, thank you, Barbara. I'm Teresa Moon, and this has been Parabilis Presents GovCon, Chronicles of a GovCon CEO. and we will see you next month. So stay tuned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.